What's going on, guys? Seancutshair back with another video. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to clean and maintain the Beam Team XL cordless compressor, and also talk about a couple common problems that people have with the compressor and how to fix them. Alright, so like I said, I want to show you guys a couple of the main problems I hear about with the XL, and then we will take it all the way apart and I'll show you guys how I disassemble it, how I clean it, and how I put it back together. The first thing that's very common, guys, is this knob on the back. It's really made to control how much air can come out of the trigger. So if you guys notice, if you pull the trigger all the way back and you start to tighten this, it will actually push the trigger back up against your finger. And what that's gonna do is make it to where the trigger can't come all the way back. So it's gonna actually stop the airflow about halfway. So a lot of you guys maybe put this back together and turn this all the way tight. It's actually gonna limit how much air can come through, and you guys can't tell, but I literally can barely pull the trigger back and it's being stopped. So that's one problem that happens very commonly that I would tell you guys to watch. So what you wanna do is push the trigger, start to untighten it, and you guys will get to the point where you can pull the trigger all the way back and you'll know that it's at the right spot. The next problem that's very common that we hear about is that people push the needle in too hard. So you guys, when you push the needle in, I'm gonna take this last piece off. Now I can pull the needle in and out. I wanna just give it enough pressure to go till it stops. I don't want to shove that needle in. If you guys shove that needle in, it will actually go too snug and the needle will stop all the pressure from coming through. So you guys just want to push it in just far enough until you feel it hit the front. You guys can even see it come through this front nozzle. And once you get the needle there, let off. You don't need to push it in hard. And that is a common problem that is a simple fix. Now I'm going to go ahead and take this thing all the way apart and break down how to take it apart, how I clean it, and then we'll put it back together so that you guys can follow along with this video and clean yours yourself. Alright guys, so to start this video off, you can see we have the Beam Team XL back here, and we will start to take that apart in a second. I'm going to use a color bowl, and we're going to need some cleaning alcohol. So I'm going to start off by putting some alcohol in the bowl, just deep enough that all the parts can soak in it. So I'll put about 3/4 of an inch of alcohol in there. We can drop all our parts in there and let them soak. That'll make sure that they're fully submerged in the alcohol and get them as clean as possible. So I'm going to set my alcohol to the side. We're going to go ahead and we can start simply to make this easier. We're just going to take the gun off the top of the compressor, put the compressor back there. So you guys can see this is the handle that comes on the Beam Team. More or less, this breakdown will work with any airbrush gun, but just the trigger being a little bit different. Don't let that confuse you guys. Most of the internals are going to work exactly the same. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start by taking this screw out on the back. And again, guys, if you don't know how to do this, record yourself doing it or watch along. That way you guys know exactly the order that we did this and you can put it back together. So that goes in the alcohol. Next, we'll take this end cap off. On the front, guys, we have 2 nozzles. So we'll take this first nozzle off. And the second. The cup, we can take the cap off. The cup also comes off. After that, this is the piece that holds the needle in, so we will unscrew that. Then carefully pull the needle out, and I'm going to set it to the side. We will clean it on its own. You guys can see how much dark is on that needle. So that is one major problem that most people have. Sometimes it's as simple as pulling this needle out, wiping it down real good, and that will drastically help. I'm going to just go ahead and set that to the side. I'm going to tuck it underneath my color bowl so I don't cause any damage to it. The next part, guys, is back here. I'm going to take this last nozzle off that covers all the internals. Drop it in there, the spring, and this last piece that the needle goes through. That's most of the gun, guys. There is another piece up here at the front that we most of the time fail to take off, and this can hold a lot of color. So I'm going to grab the wrench that came with the airbrush and we will twist this out and add it to our alcohol. This is the wrench that I'm talking about. If you guys take this wrench, we can twist off that front little nozzle, and that is a very important part that we forget a lot of the time. You guys can see this little nozzle. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but I do forget to take this off most of the time, and I have to grab that wrench and take it off. But a lot of the time there's color in that, so we want to make sure we put it in there as well. So that's all the parts. If you guys really want to, you can soak this whole thing, the whole gun if you wanted to. Take it off of this bottom piece that goes on the compressor, and we can soak this whole gun. So I may do that after I soak these parts for a little bit. We'll throw the whole gun in there. You guys can put some alcohol straight through this right now and through the top, and make sure that it's cleaned out as best you can, and then we'll put all the parts back together.
12 seconds later.
All right, so now all the parts are cleaned. I did not let this soak very long. Obviously the camera hasn't moved. I'm just doing this to show you guys. Normally I would do this on a Saturday when I have at least Sunday off before I come back to work on Monday. Then I can put it back together. So you guys wanna let this stuff soak for a little bit, maybe a day or two, if you have the time, at least a couple hours, and let it soak. And then we will actually wipe each thing off and kind of try to scrub it with the towel to make sure we get everything off. So I have cleaned the gun. I took some alcohol, sprayed it down, took a towel, cleaned it real well. And now I'm gonna take my towel. We'll use this towel to clean off each part before we put it on. So I'm actually gonna put some gloves on just so I don't have all this alcohol all over my hands. I'm just gonna go ahead and take a couple of the big parts off, and we will start to kind of scrub them. I'm just gonna use my towel, stick my finger down in here and make sure that it's all the way clean. And I'll take the outside, make sure it's dried off and clean. And we can go ahead and put this back on the gun. After that, I'll go ahead and do the lid. So we'll get the lid out, same thing. And put it in my towel, kind of scrub it, make sure that we have all the color off of it. This obviously is not a very important part. The hole that goes into the cup, the bottom of the cup, it's so broad, it's not really gonna get clogged up. But I like to keep my stuff clean. So you guys can see the lid is nice and clean. Go ahead and put that on our gun. So next up, guys, the first piece I'm gonna put on is this last piece that we took off that goes into the back of the gun. So again, we're gonna dry it off. If you guys look closely, it does have one part that has a little groove in it. I know this is hard to focus. If you guys look closely at the back of this, you're probably not gonna be able to see it, but at the bottom of this hole, there is a notch that this groove will go over. So we'll take the groove and make sure it's at the bottom and push it all the way in. So that's all the way in. That's our first piece. Next thing that we need is the screw. This is obviously not gonna hold much alcohol, so I will just immediately put this back on here, and there we go. The next piece we have is this big piece that is gonna hold the spring in. So again, we'll dry it off. We'll put that over the screw. The thicker end of this piece is gonna go on first, so we will push the spring in with it and get that threaded in and spin it all the way tight. The next piece is the needle, so you can see it sitting back here. All I did, guys, was spray some alcohol on my towel. I want to be very careful with it, and I just pulled it through like this. When I wanted to clean the tip, I held it snug and spun it to make sure I got all the color off and had a nice clean needle. This is very important. If you guys bang up this needle, it will not allow the airflow to go through smooth, so you want to make sure that you're very careful with the tip and make sure we don't damage it. So now I'm going to pull this real close. I'm sorry if this doesn't focus, guys. We got to make sure the needle goes right in that hole, and very lightly we're just going to push that through to the front. You guys see it come out the front. Now we're going to be very gentle. We don't have the front pieces on yet, so we'll actually pull that back to where it's just at the tip. We'll put the front pieces on, and then we'll snug it up to the front. So the first piece on the front, guys, is the one that we use the wrench to take off. So this is very small. Again, I'm going to try to have this focus for you guys, but it is a little difficult. Obviously the threaded end is going to go into the front. So I'm just going to line this up and start to screw it in. Once you get it hand tightened, we'll take our wrench and tighten it down. This doesn't need to be super tight. We just want to snug it down. So I'll just take my wrench a couple times until it's snug. Now if you guys look, when we press the needle through, it will just come through the front. Like I said, we don't want to press super hard. We just want to get it out, and it's good. If we press this super snug in, it will actually restrict the airflow and cause more problems. So we'll go ahead and finish the front end of this gun. I'm going to set it down very carefully. We don't want to damage the needle. And we'll take our front cap. There's two of them. The big one goes first. Very carefully, we'll place it over the needle so we don't damage the needle. And screw it in. Boom. The next piece is the small one. This is kind of a reverse cone it's going to thread on, and then it has the cone at the front that protects the needle. So again, very carefully line it up. Thread it on snug. We're good to go on the front. So the front of the gun is done. Again, now that that's all done, I'm gonna pull my needle back and I will press it in just far enough until it stops. And now we're good. Now the last small piece that we have is what holds the needle where it's at. So you guys will slide this over the back of the gun and snug it on to this part. Again, guys, none of this stuff needs to be super tight. We just want to get it on there That's tight enough. Then this cover, and guys, these last two parts aren't actually required. You can run the gun just like this without these last two covers. I see it commonly, but I use it all the way together just like it comes. So guys, we'll put this last cover on, and the last piece that I showed you guys at the beginning, we will thread on the back. And the way I do it, guys, I pull the trigger all the way back so I know I have full motion. I'll tighten this till it starts to push against my finger. You guys see that moving my finger? So I'll go back until I have full motion of the lever. And now we're done. So we'll reinstall this to the gun and we'll see how it's spraying. I'm gonna throw a little bit of alcohol in here and we'll test her out. All right, so I hope this video was helpful. I know we have a lot of problems with these and a lot of people just don't quite understand how to clean it. I will tell you guys, the full breakdown doesn't need to be done all the time. Every now and then you will have a little bit of a clogging problem and you need to do that full breakdown. But guys, when you spray color, when you get done, dump the color out, run some alcohol through the gun until it sprays clear. You can even leave some alcohol sitting in it. Next time you need color, dump the alcohol out, do the same process. So if you guys keep running alcohol through it, it should maintain and stay pretty well cleaned. But every now and then you will have to take it fully apart. And guys, you saw I just showed you how to do it. Really, it takes a minute or two to break it down and a minute or two to put it back together the next day. And you guys can have it spraying perfectly for you guys. Hope this video was helpful. If you guys like this video, hit the thumbs up. Leave a comment down below and let me know if you have the compressor or if you want it. I would recommend all you guys to use this compressor. It does charge wirelessly, no cord. It is definitely a game changer. Make sure you guys subscribe for more content like this, and I'll catch you guys next time.